because straight couples just do it and
Hmm.
nobody looks at them, because when we do it there is a stare, there is a judgment. So I think ये है कि because we lack confidence is because we lack acceptance in other people, in
Hmm.
society. जो उनकी सोच है वो हमें रोक रही है, हमारी सोच भी हमें रोक रही है.
Pride Month. When did the Pride Month start? If we are to go back into history, it was somewhere around 1970. It was, and right now we commemorate it as an anniversary for the Stonewall and riots. But very few people are aware of this fact as to why the Pride Month is celebrated. And over time, conversations, dialogues have the narratives around Pride Month has changed. Welcome to CNN News 18's podcast, Clarity Amidst Clutter. This is your host, Sriya Kundu. And yes, as you must have guessed, this is a Pride Month special. But, while we usually focus on the LGBTQIA plus communities struggle with the rest of the society, today's conversation is going to be more focused on the kind of changes and the kind of social patterns that have come across within the community. And we will talk to a member of the community about this. But I think our viewers are in for a treat because he is an influencer and you know him by his Instagram name. And yes, we have with us Robin Kurian, and he's known as Romolika. Robin, welcome to the show.
Thank
How are
you.
you
Thank you
doing?
so much for calling me. And I'm known as Gopi, Anupama, Prerna, everything.
Of course, all the Ekta Kapoor characters that we have, he is an amalgamation of all of it. And I sometimes honestly think his rendition is, if not better, definitely at par with whatever the actresses had put out on those shows. So I am very excited to have this conversation with him because I know he's known for having his own breakouts where he starts answering like one of those characters. And I'm going to tell you, Robin, I'm looking forward to one of those today for sure. If you give us multiple of those, even better.
मैं कोशिश करूंगी.
Perfect. But if I come back to the conversation, you identify yourself as a member of the queer community.
Yes.
Now, the word queer has traveled a long way. It's considered to be an umbrella term for anybody who does not conform to the definitions of what we used to consider as, the cisgender per se. So, but you as a member of the community, how do you define this word? How would you see it being explained to the audience?
I feel queer is expression, whatever you are. So, as a part of a community, or as a queer person, when you are growing up, people tend to make you feel that you are different. And you tend to judge yourself because
Hmm.
I'm sorry to say, but आज भी education system में बहुत कम knowledge है. We are not taught sexualities. We are not taught genders. There's no topic on trans people. ठीक है? So our society is what we are studying in schools, and our thinking is molded in childhood while we study. And uh, there are kids out there sitting around me. They are going ahead with their lives, normal hormones, and our hormones are telling us to do different things.
Hmm.
And ये भी है कि at those times, now times are good, but when I was a kid, those time these terms like gay, bisexual, and everything was taken as a slur or as an insult. So even if I was that, I would
Hmm.
not want to identify as that. For the longest time, I was in the closet because I don't want to be associated with this thing. So for us, these terms are necessary to be accepted, to be normal, to feel normal. Not that we are not abnormal, but
Hmm.
society has created certain boxes and we don't fit in that. So we decided कि let's create our own boxes and we will fit in that because there are actually, since इतने लोग हैं दुनिया में और सबके डीएनएज अलग है, सबकी शक्लें अलग है, सबके बिहेवियर्स अलग है, उसी तरह सेक्सुअलिटीज और जेंडर्स भी अलग हैं. And there cannot be just one and two genders or sexualities. There is multiple and there is space for everyone, and that is queer for me. Queer for me is acceptance. Expect and freedom of expression, freedom of whatever you want to do, you know,
Right. Hmm.
unless you're offending other people.
Of course.
That is queer.
Hmm. So, like you mentioned, your journey with coming out of the closet. Would you mind sharing it with us as well?
Do you want to know how I came out of the closet, or
I mean, if you have a particular story about it, go ahead, share it with your audience.
story is very funny. I was just too drunk and I was hanging out with my friends.
It's one of those nights. That's how it
It was one
starts.
of those nights. So initially, I had things with guys and everything, and I used to just change the narrative, replace the little characters, और लड़के को लड़की बनाकर मैं कहानी सुनाता था, and वो acting एक दिन मैंने सोचा अब नहीं करनी मुझे. So I just decided to tell my friends, and they acted in the most normal way. They were like, "Okay, तो हम क्या करें?"
Right.
Because that is the aim. That is the aim.
It
You might
feels
find
good
it
when you
funny.
get that reaction, right?
Yes, you might find it funny, but that is the aim, that somewhere down the line, when someone comes out to you, you should be like, okay, fine. अब और क्या? It's a very normal thing. It's a very normal thing. ठीक है, let's focus on other things. And that's how my friends reacted, and they were so acceptive of this fact. It was too good. But as a queer person, my journey, I would say, as a community person, I would say, when you are growing up, certain things you do which are being judged, and you are being told that you're different. Like, for example, I never liked sports. I was always into studies. And I used to do that because as a kid, I was always bullied. You didn't throw the ball you threw the ball like a girl. You run like a girl. Being associated with girlish behaviors is not, I'm not saying it's bad now, but उस वक्त हमारे दिमाग में थॉट डाल दिया था कि अगर तुम ऐसे हो तो तुम गलत हो, तुम नहीं हो सही. तो वो चीज बहुत अंदर तक घर कर गई. तो आई डिसाइडेड कि मैं तो पढ़ाई करूंगा, मैं अच्छे नंबर लाऊंगा, आई विल मेक अप फॉर इट. एंड फॉर द लॉन्गेस्ट टाइम आई लिव्ड अ लाई. Initially, when I was growing up, I was straight. I used to have these feminine traits, but I used to look at only girls. But then puberty happened, transition happened, and then I started looking at guys. And then it was so confusing without education, without awareness. There was no internet at the time. I'm glad people have access to all of that now. But that time we were very confused, and the only reference we have was friends, teachers, and elders.
It was
And
the
all,
blind leading the blind, honestly.
yes. And none of them used to talk about this. They got uncomfortable rather, and they would actually put us down for being that way. They
Right.
would also laugh, they would also contribute to the jokes, which I felt was so unfair as a queer kid, that for the longest time I couldn't come out of the closet because I felt that everybody around me will not accept me. That is
Right.
and then you read up. I read up. I was like, okay, I have to do my research. And the first change I would want is to bring it in the education system, so that as a कोई और जो बच्चा है जो confused है वो आगे confused ना रहे. But I decided to read up about it, know about it. Then there was so many things that I read. There is is my gender correct? Is my sexuality correct? Where do I belong in the rainbow? I'm so glad there is a rainbow out there. There's no just 1, 2, 3 categories. There is space for everyone. That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. So I then decided, I just realized that I belong to bisexual people. I'm a bisexual person, and then I got to know that okay, I am a conforming male. So gender and sexuality confirmed, and that is through experiences. That is a research that I've done on my bit. So if I want to convey anything from my journey, is that there should be a more and more accessible place where kids or teenagers at least should have knowledge about this, and they should be taught this in a way jahan pe it's not demeaning, degrading.
It's a part of the curriculum normally.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. I don't know if it is yet.
No, I mean, not really.
Yes, that's why. Because it's very difficult in India for India to talk about sex. And sexual education is also a taboo. Our teachers used to just say, ki, खुद पढ़ लेना ये चैप्टर, मैं नहीं पढ़ाऊंगी. That was
Even
the
the
sex
sex
education.
education that we have in school is heavily based on the reproduction system, the
Reproduction
procreation
system.
that humans have. Exactly.
Yeah.
It hasn't gotten anything to do with identities per se.
Yes. Yes. Also, it is heavily based on cis
Hmm.
reproduction systems.
Right.
Okay,
Hmm.
cis sexual things.
Hmm.
There is no mention of trans. There is no mention of bi, gay, anything. That is
Hmm.
the most tricky part where us kids got confused कि okay,
Hmm.
I तो believe मतलब मैं तो बहुत ही अलग सोच रहा हूँ. Shit.
Hmm.
And the first thing that comes to your mind is shit. Am I doing wrong? Am I being
Hmm.
a person? This is not what I am. So I used to run away from my truth. For the longest time, I ran away from my truth. But since I accepted it, that is where I gained the confidence that I'm talking to you. I made all that content. I decided to
Hmm.
wear a sari in public. That all happened because of that
And
self.
you're rocking it.
Thank you.
Absolutely rocking
Yeah,
it.
many of my girl friends are surprised you drape a well. Matlab, sari so well. What
For
the?
sure, for sure. Wait,
How?
actually, do you drape your own sarees?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that is a talent for sure. Because I think most women, I speak for most women when I say this, it's a struggle
It's a
to
struggle.
drape a sari.
It's a struggle.
It takes
Yeah,
a
but
lot.
I become a little drama queen.
Array,
Usually
yes,
people are like, यहाँ पे
perfect,
पल्लू करो,
perfect.
यहाँ से ये करो, please वो नीचे से पकड़ो. But I love
I
it.
think you should do a tutorial video in all
Yeah,
seriousness.
soon, 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 soon.
Right. So, I mean, all for all our viewers out there, yes, this is a fact about Robin. He drapes his own saris.
Saris.
Please do contact him for tutorials, tips, and tricks, and all kinds of advice for this. But coming back to the conversation, you brought out a very important point, which is the fact that there is very less discussion, or at least there used to be very less discussion about sexual identities and gender. And so, if I were to ask you about this, it's the 21st century, not just the 21st century, it's 2023, where we've come a long way. Like it began in my introduction as well, we've come a long way as to why we celebrate the Pride Month right now, right? And in that particular context, how would you say the conversations or the dialogues that people have about this particular community has changed over time? Yes, definitely. One thing is there, the acceptance is more now, people acknowledge it more. But has it been as normalized as maybe like as a member of the community yourself? Do you think it's as normalized as the community would want it to be?
I would not agree to कि there is more acceptance because
Yeah,
because we live in a bubble.
right,
We belong to the tier one urban society where
right.
everybody has Instagram, everybody has Facebook, everybody has seen a video. But if you walk down the street or you consider the entire population of India, tier
Hmm.
two and tier three is what rules. And they
Hmm.
still have no clue. So all of these initiatives that has been taken, good, these are good initiatives.
Hmm.
But I haven't actually seen, well,
Hmm.
personally, speaking for myself, I
Yeah.
have seen that there is a awareness program in a gao or in a place जहाँ पे people don't have access and privilege to these things.
Hmm.
So that is the aim, to bring people from
Reach
every
at the very grassroots level.
grassroots level to be acceptive. Okay, and they are not still. I've seen so many cases. I met so many people on dating apps, and their experiences are horrible. They have been thrown out of their house. They've
Hmm.
been beaten by their own family members
And
for
this is in the urban community itself, huh?
no, not not semi-urban. I would say, like they
Acha. Hmm.
belong to one of the person. I don't want to reveal the name, but he belonged
Yeah,
to
yeah. Hmm.
Rajasthan.
Absolutely.
Rajasthan,
Hmm.
which is highly थोड़ा masculine standards बहुत high होते हैं उस community के, and when you come out as gay it's not accepted that much, and then that person was beaten by his own family members. One of them was sexually abused as well, and that is horrible,
By their own family.
by their own family member, and that is horrible to listen to. And
Absolutely.
till it's not penetrating that society,
Hmm.
that amount of people, I don't feel we have, मतलब हम क्या ही कर रहे हैं. अगर
Hmm.
हम ऑफिस में रेनबो लगाकर प्राइड मार्च कर रहे हैं, तो वी
Hmm.
आर प्लेइंग अराउंड अस पीपल। जब तक कुछ ऐसा नहीं होता जहाँ पे एक बच्चा जो एक गांव में बैठा है सिरसा के, जस्ट टेकिंग अ रैंडम एग्जांपल, एंड दैट पर्सन डिसाइड्स टू बी ट्रांस, तो ही
Hmm.
कैन,
Hmm.
वो नहीं होगा जब तक, तब तक मुझे नहीं लगता कि प्राइड मूवमेंट का कोई मतलब।
Right.
Good initiative, good things are happening, but it should also penetrate in the deeper levels, I would say.
Right. I think that's a very important point, and it's true. I myself have come across such instances where people have been mistreated because of their revelation of their identities. And it's a very sad truth. It's a very unfortunate thing, but it still happens. And unfortunately, why I was asking you as to whether it happened in the urban community itself, because I know instances from the urban community as well that
Yeah,
it's just.
yeah, no surprises if that happened. And
Hmm,
very sadly, most of the people I meet, they
hmm,
have experiences of
hmm,
childhood abuse
hmm,
by their own, and it is always someone from their family. It's
hmm,
always someone from their family. And
right.
that fucks a child's mind. That
Hmm,
just shapes their entire. But if they are underconfident for the longest time, they cannot date, they cannot even function properly normally because of that. And what are we doing about that? Where
hmm,
are we at that? No. मतलब just rainbows लगा के बहुत सारे brands करके ये सब करके what are we, who are we reaching out?
hmm,
We are making people feel nice and proud, and I'm very happy for that. But
hmm,
those people who actually need the care and help, where are
hmm,
we for that?
right.
So there should be more initiatives for them, you know.
Hmm. True, very true. I would like to bring forward another aspect of it, which is public spaces. Like we spoke about families accepting, but now if we talk about the society, and even after the bubble that has been formed around this entire pride movement, I think there are still gaps in the society, gaps that need to be filled. And one such gap is regarding the kind of public spaces that are accessible to people
Hmm.
of your community, right? And when I talk about public spaces, it could be anything from a workplace to the basics of a washroom.
Hmm.
As to for a trans member,
Hmm.
which washroom are they supposed to use?
Hmm.
Like women are like, no, this person is not allowed here, and then men are like, no, this person isn't allowed here either. Now we do look at gender neutral washrooms. These are initiatives that are being taken up for sure, but again, it's a long way ahead that is left. So what would you say about this particular accessibility to public spaces, accessibility to uh, what a normal cishet person would be able to enjoy? Where do you think the lack is even now?
I feel, as you mentioned, trans people have problems accessing washrooms at
Hmm.
several places. And as you said, ki workplaces have become better. I think
Hmm.
in my organization where I work,
Hmm.
people are very acceptanceable. But
Hmm.
there are still places जहाँ पे awareness नहीं है. And
Hmm.
if you talk about gender neutral toilets and all, these are also initiatives that has taken in the very upper level. It
Right.
all should come down to grassroots level. I think very beautiful initiative was taken since the 377 Act was
Hmm.
lifted. Trans people were given more employment opportunities. That
Right.
was an
Hmm.
initiative that actually helped us, you know.
We
Actually,
actually see them in a lot of leadership roles as well
yeah,
now. Hmm.
you know, Kochi Metro,
Hmm.
Kerala mein,
Hmm.
they had an entire staff of trans people. I
Oh,
proudly say because I'm a Malayali, so I want to say the
wow.
fact. But we had an
That's
entire
fabulous.
strand of trans people. All trans
Hmm.
people were employed there. That was so beautiful because
Hmm.
these people want to be seen and visible, be invisible, but still the stereotypes in people's head don't let them accept it. So
Hmm.
there should be awareness programs, and actually, like media also helps it in a very very good way. Like the film Shubh Mangal Zada Savdhan was
Hmm.
a very good film, and
Hmm.
I would say many would say that okay, it was very massy. There were too many songs. It was so filmy, but that's how you feed people.
That's how Indian films work.
Yeah,
That's how
because
commercial
no,
movies work.
because Indians are uncomfortable about this topic, so
Yeah.
you need to. put them
Cushion
and
it.
serve them in pieces. Because even when I want to talk about my sexuality with my parents, I can't just go and be like, "Ha, this is me." I have to tell them in pieces. Okay, this is happening. This is happening. So that's how. जैसे मम्मी पिज्जा बनाती है उसमें सब्जियां छुपाती है, कि फिल्मों में वो वैल्यूज छुपा छुपा कर हमने खिला दिए, और जब उनको आदत पड़ जाएगी पिज्जा कम कर देंगे, सब्जियां ज्यादा कर देंगे. That's
I
why.
think that is up to our generation next. That yes, we don't need it hidden in the pizza. It's topping.
Like Badhaido was a much
Hmm.
more mature and nice film.
Yeah.
And that's how people would start accepting it. The
Hmm.
more the films work, because movies are impressionable medium. Whatever happens in movies, you tend to do and believe in real life.
Hmm.
So that was a good initiative. But I think there needs to be more initiatives, because when I also go out to date, okay,
Hmm.
I am with my partner in public, they tend to because I am very confident, I don't care, but still they are hesitant to hold hands or
Hmm.
maybe kiss uh, in public,
Hmm.
because straight couples just do it and
Hmm.
nobody looks at them, because when we do it there is a stare, there is a judgment. So I think ये है कि because we lack confidence is because we lack acceptance in other people, in
Hmm.
society. जो उनकी सोच है वो हमें रोक रही है, हमारी सोच भी हमें रोक रही है. तो जब तक वो, वैसे जैसे मैंने आपको पहले भी बोला, वो पेनिट्रेशन जो इनिशिएटिव्स का है डीपर रूट ग्रास लेवल तक नहीं जाएगा, तब तक a queer person will feel awkward,
Hmm.
you know,
Right.
express themselves. Because I would take my example again. When I went to my office in a sari, there
Hmm.
were no judgments. Even the canteen wala bhaiya. And this will be
Hmm.
very surprising. This has nothing to do with education and all. My
Yeah.
canteen wala bhaiya is very cool, chill. He might not be much educated, but he did not react to me in a very weird way. Okay? He played along. That video hit 10 million actually,
Hmm.
and there were no dialogues given to him. He just thought I am Anupama and he played along. And that
Doing
is
it
the most
from.
beautiful way he has accepted me. Every day
Hmm.
I came to him like a male person and order, and is bar I was in a sari. 2 minutes he was surprised what is happening, and then he accepted. And but that is what I'm in an urban space. I'm in an aware space, woke space. If I wore this sari in a gaon, I don't know what will I be subjected to.
Hmm.
Will I have the courage to do that? That
Right.
also took courage. So,
Of course.
right. And that, why is that? Is because thinking का फर्क. क्योंकि जो एजुकेशन अवेयरनेस यहाँ पहुंच चुकी है, वो वहां तक अभी पहुंच नहीं रही है,
नहीं रही है.
और
Hmm.
वहां तक पहुंचेगी तब ही वो बदलाव आएगा.
Hmm. And it's a constant, I think, nature versus nurture debate that goes on. And this depends, I think, the very mention of your canteen wale bhaiya, he has sort of been conditioned to an environment where now he's realized that, yes, this is very normal. So that is where nurture comes into play and more than nature,
No,
I feel.
yaar, but
Hmm.
I also want to give huge credits to people's mindset. It's just you don't. So basically, these things you don't understand. But
Right.
there's one thing you don't understand, and there's one thing you're saying it's wrong.
Huh.
He might not understand it, but he's ready to accept it.
Accept it and like try and understand what is going on. Yes.
Yes,
It's
that
not
is
like
the
a
thing.
outright rejection.
Because many educated, privileged people have reacted in the most negative way
Oh,
towards me,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
many people who were not that educated have clearly just be like, हाँ ठीक है, ये तो normal है. It's okay.
Hmm.
His life, let him live. That is
Hmm.
beautiful. That is beautiful. So
Right.
I am saying ki it's not like that tier, 2 tier and 3 tier communities are not ready to, but they have not been taught. It's our
Hmm.
problem that we are not doing anything for that particular, space.
Hmm. Right. Absolutely. Now that I've spoken of movies, I think that's also a very important topic. We've all heard about this phenomena called queer baiting. So, like now have movies like Badhai Do or Shubh Mangal Savdhan 2, all of these. But earlier भी नहीं, अभी भी if we look at it, there are movies where queer community members are put in the movie and it almost comes off as like the plot around them is made so inconsequential. It almost looks like they've been added in the plot just so that the movie makers get the credits of, oh my god, this is an inclusive movie after all. And we've seen this not just in Bollywood, this was also a very glaring occurrence in Hollywood as well. If you talk about shows, if you talk about movies, it's there everywhere. Like, very few times will you see that the queer community is given a representation where the plot makes sense as to why that particular character has been put in. Sirf just as a side character, the particular protagonist's best friend. The best friend, I mean, yes, best friends do have an important role, but there are places where the best friend has no role except to just exist there. Maybe sometimes the camera pans over them and shows them, and that's done. There are instances of it. So in that particular case, how would you comment on that? Like, as to, like, yes, movies have become a source of representing the community and, making people more aware. But this kind of occurrences, what this does is misleads the audience again. It's a very wrong conditioning or wrong message that they send out. कि हाँ,
Yeah.
ये like एक underlying effect आ जाता है कि हाँ, ये characters जो है ना, ये secondary है. They're not the primary ones.
Hmm. So I would say I am very happy about that this is happening. I don't look at it that way because we were under the veil for the
Hmm.
longest time. And
Hmm.
now it's like the veil has been lifted and we are everywhere in your face. You can't not look at us.
You can't
We
avoid.
are always there. We are always part of the story. So
Hmm.
I am very happy that the most जो major shows बन रहे हैं, big shows बन रहे हैं, they have queer stories, they have queer narratives, so that because some hetero people would never feel very uncomfortable, even if they want to know about it, they feel uncomfortable seeing such scenes. So they have been fed in a very massy movie which is about them, and then there is a story about us. So my friends who are straight, they used to feel, we won't watch guys making out. That is very weird. Ye wo, ye wo, ye wo. But since they put it in Game of Thrones, they put it in every show, you can't just not look at them. You have to. Because it's part of the story. Kuch bhi twist ho sakta hai. I don't think it's a very good
You can't miss the Game of Thrones part at all.
yes, Game of Thrones, but you can't miss. कभी इस scene में कुछ
कुछ
हो
भी
गया
हो
तो
सकता है.
yes, and they're normalizing bisexuality and whatever polygamy and everything in those scenes. Okay, there are characters who have weird sexual cravings, and you see them making out with girls, guys, and everything. There's a whole brothel, and you're accepting sex suddenly. So I think it's a very good thing. But also the narratives could be stronger, but that there are movies out there for them also, because there are beautiful movies like Call Me by Your Name. It's
Oh
a
yes,
fantastic movie. I love Timothy.
beautiful,
Personal
beautiful.
crush on Timothy. I love him. I would watch anything he does. And there's another movie called The Portrait of a Lady on Fire. It's a
Yes.
it's a French movie. I
Hmm.
love that movie.
It's
It's
beautiful
it's
again.
it's two things I love: feminism and bisexuality is explored
Right.
coming together. In the whole movie, there is no relevant scene of a man, and
Hmm.
the whole world is of women, led by women,
Hmm.
operated by women, and how women are so happy in that movie. I just love
Hmm.
it. And I have even seen Fire.
Right. Hmm.
Fire was the first movie, LGBT movie that was made.
Hmm. Hmm.
Shabana Azmi was in it. It
Hmm.
was banned, but I saw
Right.
it. It was lovely. I loved her, and I loved her for taking that step at that stage of the career when she
Hmm.
knew that it would
Could
not be appreciated.
affect her career.
It would affect her career, but kudos to her. Kudos to her that she did it, and it was so well shot. I would say that ऐसी movies हैं, but we
Hmm.
tend to ignore them. We don't look up research enough and
Hmm.
actually watch those shows. If
Hmm.
you do actually research and because these are mostly art movies, and you
Hmm.
like
That's the problem. It's again like that's the thing, right? These commercial movies, it's only now that they've started making commercial movies on these topics. But if you look at all the movies that you name, even I was gonna mention Margarita with a Straw. That was also another beautiful story.
beautiful
Like,
story.
or whenever
I
I've
would
seen
like to
one
mention
thing.
one more, which is a South Indian film called Super Deluxe.
I have watched that.
Oh
That
my
is
God.
beautiful.
Beautiful.
So whenever I've seen these kinds of movies come to the front, and they have a queer community story that they are portraying, the story is so meaningful. There is such depths in the plot. But again, that's the problem. It doesn't count, like, at least the audience doesn't consider it as a commercial movie. Even though if it is made at a commercial capacity, it gets labeled as an art film or a feature film.
That's what now,
Hmm.
because it will come dheere dheere. I am
Right.
really happy
Like
that
its popularity is still stuck at, yes, it is another, like, in one of those categories, art movies. Like Call Me by Your Name is, so I mean, it has Timothy Chalamet, for God's sake. I mean, Timothy Chalamet, otherwise any of his other movies, people will flock the theaters and watch
yes,
him.
yes, yes.
But a movie like Call Me by Your Name, it I've only seen it come up by reference. Ki, ha, one person has watched it, then that person has referred it, then like word of mouth, it's gotten popular. Yeah.
See, that is because how you see cinema. I
Mm.
think for both of us, we look at cinema very deeply. But
Mm.
for some, it's just piece of entertainment. So
Right. Mm.
if you are adding LGBT narratives to those films which are just entertaining, you
Mm.
are actually normalizing it in some way. Because
Mm.
those public would not actually go and research and watch movie. They just want to. There are people, for them, if cinema is just a source of entertainment, they would see कि Friday को कौन सी movie आ रही है, and they just go book tickets and watch it. That's
Ah.
that's
Mm.
the research they do.
Mm. Mm.
So in those movies, if we are putting some queer representation, because we have come a long way already. Already,
Absolutely.
Bollywood has done enough damage initially by creating some iconic gay characters which were very derogatory.
Hmm.
Very derogatory. So
Hmm.
from that to have come to a progressive narrative is good. And I think with more directors and more queer directors coming in line and coming in line,
Right. Mm.
more narratives we would want to see in future. It's like how Vidya did with women-driven cinema,
Mm.
female-centric cinema. Vidya has done. I love Vidya. I love Vidya. By
Oh,
the
yes.
way.
Yes.
I love. And
I agree with you.
yeah, she did it at a time when
Mm.
nobody could think. She took
Mm.
the biggest risk of her career. And that
Mm.
movie got so much acceptance that now we have female driven cinema. Now we have Gangubai Kathiawadi, which is celebrated so much as a male.
It's the best film.
Yes,
Yes.
as a male centric cinema would win. She
Mm.
deserves all the awards. She deserves all the appreciation. There is a depth in writing of women characters now. Even if they are a side character, there is a thought behind what they are. There is a character arc. There is a character curve. I think, but it all started gradually. So if we
Mm.
are starting, it's a good thing, and we will reach a place where someday characters will be depth, and people will also want to watch it.
Mm. Right. One more thing. I think this is, I'm coming to a more controversial part of this
I
conversation.
read that.
So, um, I'm sure you're aware of these terms that have started getting coined nowadays, where people, I mean, the most common one that I have heard in the recent past is transability, right? So now their point is, now, and not just, it doesn't just, restrict itself to transability. And for our audience out there, people who don't know what transability is, there is some sanity left in the world. I'm sorry, but yes. Transability is people who have come across and they have said that they have a perfectly functioning body, but they have said that they identify as a disabled person. So they've gone out, they've either gone through surgeries to restrict their body in some particular way or the other, or they've just gone out saying that no, I identify as a disabled person, because that is how they look at themselves. They identify with the mentality of going through the struggles of a disabled person, and whatever reasons there may be. Now, there are also people who've come and started saying that they identify as a particular animal. Like recently, I was looking at this video where this woman comes and says, I identify as a cat. Then there are men or women who come, or whatever gender it is, honestly, doesn't matter. They just come and say, no, I identify as a white person, even if they are not white, right? So it goes across races, it goes across, for that matter, even animals and humans are now being put on the same particular balance, and everything, for that matter, even objects. It might come off as a very ridiculous concept, but there are people out there who are saying this, that I identify as this object, or I identify as a cat, or I identify as a disabled person. And their argument is that if a particular person can go out there who has, for example, XY chromosomes, and they want to identify as a person who has XX chromosomes, and if they are allowed to do that, if they can have surgery and get it done, why can't we? How do you, firstly, do you think that that undermines the whole struggle of the LGBTQIA community? Because it also puts into question the kind of struggles you've had about your identities for so long. The very fact, like our full conversation that we have had till now, it's circled around the fact that there are still people who need to be conditioned that this is very normal. What gender, what sexuality you want to conform to is your decision. It is not supposed to be decided by the world. It's not supposed to be decided, or it's not supposed to be maintained just as you were born. It is not necessary, it's not a compulsion. So how does this particular phenomenon now play out? I mean, A, do you see this as a ridiculous phenomenon that's coming out? And B, I mean, that is, if that is their argument as to if these people can do it, why can't we? Do you think it's valid?
I would like to begin by saying ignorance is a bliss, because of more and more awareness of what we are able to as humans. I feel we get just free to do anything. But if we were not aware of these things, ki, I could be identified as this, I could be identified as that, people would not think extra, they would not have spare time to think more.
Hmm.
But also, I would say, yeah, whatever sails their boat, unless it's harming their physical health, unless it's harming someone else, uh,
Hmm.
I think it's quite okay to be, let them be what they are doing. Okay, because the fact that LGBT community ka jo symbol hai, it's a rainbow. It's
Hmm.
not one color. It's
Hmm.
rainbow. That means you, and that symbolizes that you have, everyone has space for it.
Hmm.
Look, you can identify as any color, and there is infinite possibilities to what you can be.
Hmm.
That is what queer community. Relating
Hmm.
this to this particular trans ability and whatever to our LGBT struggle, I don't think that goes hand in hand. I
Hmm.
think these are two different ideas. But also not undermining, rejecting, because for the longest time we also struggled to be accepted, and now we become this LGBT community and be like, "Honey, now we don't accept you."
Ah.
Community is not an exclusive community, it's an inclusive community, because the LGBTQI plus, all plus means allies also. People who support us, people who are with us in this journey are also part of us. So we are not saying we are an exclusive community and straight people are out of it. You can't be part
Hmm.
of it. No. Everybody has space for in it.
Actually, there are some people who have a problem. I've seen like members of the community who do raise an eyebrow as to, okay, why? Like, yes, people can acknowledge us, can accept us, that is okay, but don't try to put yourself, as a member of this community because you don't know what we have been through.
And that is very rude and harsh, I would say, because I have such lovely straight friends. I
Hmm.
I have very few community friends. I have more straight friends, and the way we emote with each other, the way we talk to each other, it's actually quite refreshing. You would
Have you ever
assume
been shunned by the community for having more straight friends?
me,
Hmm?
I would say shunned, but I just don't interact with much people. So basically, I have not had the privilege of meeting someone in real life who is part of the community. Very few
Hmm.
people I've met through circles, because I don't go to these parties and all. Because I
Hmm.
actually did not put a rainbow on my bio. So no,
Ah,
not many
yes,
people know that I am bisexual. Okay? Because
absolutely. Hmm.
I feel my gender identity is an aspect of my personality, what I am. It's not my entire personality. So that's why I don't
Hmm.
exclusively say I am this. So people always have assumptions in their head, what is it not. Although I have never hidden it from them, I have said it in podcast. If you ask me personally, I would accept it. I would not run away with the fact I'm attending this interview right now as part of the queer community. I'm not ashamed of it. It's just that I don't go on announcing it everywhere, and that's why people tend to not come to me always. So I have a very close knit circle, and those are straight people. And
Hmm.
for the longest time they also assume that I am having a thing with them. We are in
Hmm.
some sort of
Right.
relationship,
Hmm.
because it's not their problem, because I also express our love in the most beautiful way. We
Hmm.
don't tend to add the bro in the end while we say I love yous, and
Ah.
we don't shy away from hugging each other or anything. I
Hmm.
am very clingy.
Hmm.
My physical touch is my love language, and they don't refrain me from doing that. And
Hmm.
so this bond of the straight and community people, I have, so this feels rebellious to them, for the community people
Okay.
sometimes.
Hmm.
This feels like, oh no, this what is happening right now. But for me, I think we created this so that we can create a space for us. That's true.
Hmm.
But we also do not want to separate us from the normal society. The ultimate
Right.
goal is to normalize, live life like others, with others, together, an inclusive place where everybody can join us. And that
Right.
was the initial thought and idea behind this, because when we added that plus at the end, that meant we also wanted to include people who are an ally. You
Hmm.
must have seen so many people who are allies put a rainbow in their bios,
Hmm. Hmm.
because they also feel they are part of this community. And
Hmm.
that is what is the idea or the initial thought behind what it was. Now what it has become, and that's also not very bad, because obviously we don't know what they have gone through. Because everybody doesn't have a pleasant experience with straight people. Most
Hmm.
of the people are traumatized, like I mentioned. Many are also
They
abused,
had bad experiences for
bad
sure.
experience.
Hmm.
Maybe it's that, but I
And
would
that
urge,
is actually, honestly, unfortunately, that is more common even
that
today.
is more common. What
Hmm.
I have is very uncommon, and that's why they don't understand it. But I would
Hmm.
love, so वही एक जगह से ही सोसाइटी, जब फैमिली से ही एक सोसाइटी बदल सकती है. तो
Hmm.
आई चेंज द सोसाइटी अराउंड मी, and maybe that vibrates and changes society around so many people. So
Right.
around my friend circle, I don't mind if it's he's straight, gay, whatever. I behave them as I would do it with anyone. There is no difference, or there is no क्या कहते हैं, preference कि yeah, I would want to hang out with just
One
straight.
over the other, per
हाँ
se.
जी, everybody is equal.
Hmm. That's such a lovely thought. But Robin, one last thing I would like to pinpoint. Like you said, your community, the very fact that there are rainbow colors in your flag says that it'll accept anybody and everybody because it's an inclusive space. But then, like, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a society. I mean, there are social rules. And I'm not saying that those social rules should bind someone's gender identity, sexual identity. But if today human beings go out there and say that I identify as an animal instead of a human, I mean there will come a point in this planet and in the society where we will lead towards anarchy of some sorts if there isn't some sort of a rule that people adhere to when it comes to identities, no?
Yeah, that's actually, I'm agreeing to that. Uh, and I would say कि because it undermines the whole point of creating a community or a movement like Pride, so
Hmm.
that we who actually gone through a lot and actually need acceptance, uh, wants to be visible, wants to be part of the society. That's true. But
Hmm.
also, we don't know what those people have gone through, and if they are going extremely out of the way to express themselves, who are we to stop them? Because for the longest time, even gays were not a good idea for us. We rolled our eyes while
Absolutely. Hmm. Hmm.
when I mentioned ki, oh, he's gay, he's straight, whatever.
Hmm.
We had an apprehension about them.
Hmm.
I would say unless they are harming them, disturbing people around them. Like I've seen videos of people actually meowing at other people in public spaces.
Hmm.
That is wrong. That is where I feel like I draw the line. Because we do so many things as a society. Okay? People are into, there are thruples being made now.
Hmm.
People are into polygamy relationships,
Polyamory. Hmm.
polyamory, yeah.
Hmm.
And people are doing all sort of things, and
Hmm.
nobody is judging them. So why should we exclude or not judge them? But also connecting it with pride is,
Hmm.
because it's the same thing when Black Lives Matters happened, and then
Hmm.
everybody was like, all lives matter.
Hmm.
It undermines the whole point of creating
Purpose
a
of the movement,
yes,
exactly.
creating a movement for that. So I
Hmm.
would say let these people live and do whatever they want to do in their life, but also not look at them like it's part of some pride movement or a part of LGBT community or this movement.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
should be treated as you want to treat them. I would say I would to accept people because I have met so many weird people with so many weird choices they have made in my life, made in their lives. I have
Hmm.
made weird choices in my life. Who am
Hmm.
I to judge?
Makes sense, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, our society, honestly, it's quite interesting the turn of events. But I think what Robin means is identify as whatever you want, but don't meow at people in
Yes,
public spaces.
yes, preach.
Yes, preach. But I think we are going to end this episode. We had a lovely conversation. But before I go, I'm not going to let you go without leaving our audience with either a message for the Pride Month, but in your Romolika style.
Oh my God. बस मुझे इतना ही कहना है कि खुद को एक्सेप्ट कर लो क्योंकि कोई और तुम्हें एक्सेप्ट करे उसकी कुमालिका को जरूरत नहीं है ठीक है अगर तुम्हें लगता है कि तुम खूबसूरत हो तो तुम खूबसूरत हो कोई और तुम्हें आके नहीं बताएगा कि तुम खूबसूरत हो एंड whatever you are you do you boo love you this is my
That
message
is such a lovely message for all of them out there. And Robin, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. It was a delightful one, insightful one at the same time. And thank you so much. This was CNN News 18's podcast, Clarity Amidst Clutter. And this was your host, Sriya Kundu.